Sex is the life force energy that runs through us all. Can you use sexual energy for your spiritual evolution? Or perhaps for emotional healing? Is it even possible? Clinical sexologist Dr. Martha Tar Lee will explore all these and more on Eros Evolution on Om Times Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Eros Evolution. This is where sexuality and spirituality meets. My name is Martha. I'm a clinical sexologist from Singapore, and you can find me at eroscoaching.com. That's EROS coaching.com. And I was in Sydney 2 weeks ago, and I was actually there for a month. And when I was there, I met Matt and Robyn. And today we're going to have them on the show talking about their favorite subject, it seems, sacred lovers, feeling into deep connection. They are lovers and passionate about sharing what they live and teach to create deep connection in relationship. They work with individuals and couples to help identify what they want, communicate clear agreements, and deepen their intimacy. Their work is based on the Will of Consent by Dr. Betty Martin, who is also one of my teachers. And this Will of Consent provides a simple framework for conscious relating. And let me introduce a little bit more about our guest. Matt Schwenteck is a trained facilitator in Tantra and sacred sexuality. His passion is to guide men and women into self-empowerment gently and easily in a fun, safe, and light-hearted way. He has been on the path of Tantra and self-development for almost 20 years with different healing modalities of counseling, bodywork, shamanism, trauma research, and neurophysiology, and has been facilitating workshops, events, and private sessions for couples, groups, and individuals for 6 years. He is a student of life and the Will of Consent with Dr. Betty Martin. Robyn Dalzen is a transformational coach and facilitator of guiding people to live more pleasurably, love for more fully, and lead more authentically. She's passionate about bringing more love and consciousness into the world and awakening sensuality, sexuality, and the erotic creature. She has been spending 15 years of her career working in the environmental sector, empowering and supporting young leaders to protect nature, and transitioned to sexuality and pleasure several years ago, where she feels she can have more of an impact in creating connection and healthy relating from an interpersonal and systemic level. You can find out more about their work by going to sacred-lovers.com. That's sacred-lovers.com. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you, Martha. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, that was quite a mouthful. So thank you. And we met in Sydney. Would you like to tell listeners more about that event and how we came about to meet?
Yeah. May I start? We just got invited from the organizer of the retreat, from Felix Ruckert. I know him from Berlin. We met him a couple of weeks ago at the Taste of Love Festival in Byron Bay. And we had a really good connection with him. And he asked us to join. We just arrived there. And I know you, Martha, from Facebook events, and my friend and teacher Betty Martin said that you are out there in Singapore and supporting the work as well that we share. And so we met there first, and it was my pleasure to see you there first time.
Yeah, so that was the first time we actually met. I have been following your work for years, and I know that you were working in Bali, and I kept seeing your posts come up relating to Will of Consent. So I know you're very passionate about it, and you've made videos and things relating to the Will of Consent. So it was really nice to connect with the two of you via technology. And I also have this radio show playing on Facebook Live right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just to let you know. So could you start a little bit more about Wheel of Consent by Betty Martin?
Yeah, so the Wheel of Consent by Betty Martin is a very simple structure. It's like a map that has a very clear dynamic to make two different overlapping dynamics transparent. And one is between giving and receiving, and one is between doing and done to. And it's mainly to become aware of the dynamic within what do we really want and what is it that we want from others and how to communicate that with others. So the main thing of the Wheel of Consent is that everything that we communicate when we're having a dynamic with our lover, with our partner, or with anybody else, that this needs a verbal consensual agreement, and from this sensual agreement we creating the relationship or the relating that we want to have with somebody else. And if this agreement, this consent is not given between people, then they operate in the so-called shadow dynamics. And the shadow dynamics, this are on the long-term run dynamics where people have learned to go along with situations that they didn't like and to adapt themselves to touch or to dynamics that were out of alignment. And so we're bringing people back into this field of alignment where they can consciously communicate what they want and of shadows back into their awareness, and where they're having difficulties to communicate and to touch and to feel and to connect.
Well, one of the things that I love about the Wheel of Consent is that it brings that one of these dynamics is about being able to reach out and take for our own pleasure. So reaching out and doing something to someone with consent and being able to receive for ourselves through our act. And this it's actually our default and what we were born to do. But through our upbringing and different belief systems, we were taught that this is wrong, this is selfish, we should put others first. And so we've lost that ability to really reach out and do for ourselves. And as I have practiced the wheel and practiced this dynamic, I have found it to be incredibly to be able to actually take responsibility when I have a desire, and to be able to reach out to my partner. We have an agreement where we can take from each other anytime, anywhere, and the other person will take care of their boundaries and let the other one know, now's not a good time, or I'm not open to that right now. But we each have the permission to do for ourselves when there's something that we would like or need.
Thank you so much for sharing. I am aware of the Wheel of Consent, of course, and I think it's deceivingly simple, and there are 4 different kinds of touch, as you mentioned, Matt, and 2 overlapping dynamics, as you said. So there's giving, receiving, which we all know. Could you elaborate more about doing and done to?
Yeah, so the doing and done to is a dynamic that we normally having a kind of a conditioning or a default that we combining doing with giving. And doing and giving is the normal way how people operate with each other. When they give something or when they do something, they associate one with the other. So the interesting thing is that we can divide doing from giving, and having the dynamic where we receive while we're doing. And receiving while we're doing is a specific specific dynamic, oxytocin based. In the first year of existence, where we have learned with our caretaker, with our mother in this natural case, that we oxytocin based through our skin, through touch, through sensuality, and through pleasure, activating this as our default system. So there is a possibility, instead of doing and giving, where we can do and receive. And there is a person where we done to when we receiving, and this other person, they're giving their body, they're giving the gift when they're done to. They're literally, so they're not moving, but they are in a place of giving the gift to their body, to their body, so that they are done to but giving. And the doing and done to is an interesting thing, specifically when it comes as well to receiving and done to, because receiving and done to is a dynamic where we receive through an action from another person that what we give, but there it is our responsibility to express from within, from our impulses, what is it that we actually want to receive, and not going along with something that the other person think what we need, so that we are empowered to ask for what we want in there.
Got it. Beautifully said. Okay, so right on time, we have a break, and after this break, we'll find out more about the will of consent from Matt and Robyn.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance. Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The majority of victims know their attacker. It could be your friend, your neighbor, or someone you met at a party. If you said no, it's rape, and it's a crime. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline today at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAIN.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Hello and welcome back to Eros Evolution. This is where sexuality and spirituality meet. You are listening to Eros Evolution on the Om Times Radio Network, and you can share this show with your friends by going to the link omtimes.com/mobile. With this link, you'll be able to listen to the show without needing to download any app. We're talking about sacred lovers today, feeling into deep connection with Matt Schwenteck and Robyn Dalzen. And they lovers and passionate about sharing what they live and teach to create deep connection in relationship. And you can find them at sacred-lovers.com. Just before the break, Matt was sharing with us about the wheel of consent. It has two overlapping dynamics, which includes giving, receiving, doing, and done to. And he was sharing with us that being done to, someone taking touch from you, can be a form of gift and can be a form of giving. And I would like, if possible, Robyn, if there's anything else you would like to elaborate on this point.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So what creates those two dynamics of the wheel is basically two questions. And the first question is, one question is coming from the place of what we typically think of in the serving dynamic of doing something to you or for you based on your request. And so when we ask the question, will you give me a back massage? Will you take out the garbage? I mean, it can be anything in the way that we relate, from not just touch, but the dynamics of relating. And then the second question that differentiates the other dynamic of the taking dynamic is the question of may I? May I do something for my own pleasure? Whether that's touch, whether that's asking someone to listen to us while we talk about our day. So you're going into action for your own needs.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So this is action for your own needs. And I like the way you propose the questions. So one is, can you give me a back massage, as opposed to may I take something from you for my pleasure. Got it?
Yes. Yeah. So in one case, you're asking someone to do something for you, and the other, you're asking, can I do this for myself? Do I have your permission? Do I have your consent?
Do I have your permission and consent to do this? Great. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what I would like to do about that is that we have, as lovers, a very clear dynamic between us, and that comes from the wheel of consent, of this dynamic of doing and receiving, where when we met first, where I asked Robyn, hey, Robyn, may I have this permission to touch you in any way I want, in this soft, gentle, pleasurable, oxytocin-based way, where I'm responsible for my action and she is responsible for her boundaries. And I gave her the same permission in the same time, where where she can do to me whatever she wants to do for her own pleasure, where I take care of my boundaries. And this is very, very similar. It is the same dynamic where we have given a holistic kind of global consent to each other, to touch each other in any way we want, in any way it feels good for us. And the other dynamic in serving and accepting is that I told her, I'm not doing anything to you except you requested, and I'm happy to do everything you ask me for, where I don't have to guess or assume what she might like. Or the other way around as well, that I'm not doing anything to her except she is asking me for something. Or I ask her when I want her to do something to me, that she doesn't have to guess or make me happy in any way. And that takes the pressure out of our engagement any given time, because we are responsible for our action, our boundaries.
And so the very night I met Matt, we had a conversation about the wheel of consent. And this was what you would call the romance phase of our relationship. But he told me about dynamics and these requests, and it was so clear and simple that I just wanted to know more. And I wanted to know how does this apply in relationship? And so this has really formed the foundation of how we relate to each other. And, we've made no commitments to love each other forever. And, it really has come down to these two agreements that we have, that we can reach out for ourselves and do for ourselves anytime, anywhere. And the second agreement was, we won't do anything for the other person unless the other person makes a request. So no serving to get something in return, no expectation, no pleasing. And it makes relating so simple.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is when we went together to this retreat into the wild, where we met, that's a kind of a beautiful way for us to using a playground to practice our agreement fields. So in this deeper dynamic is when as a self-sovereign being, we have some agreements with each other. For example, we say that I have an agreement with myself that I'm committed to myself, don't have sex with another person. So I do that because I love to go really deep sexually, having sex, and that's my beloved, my partner. So I don't need any gratification or any satisfaction through any other being. But being sexual and being playful with sexual energy, that's something that we really love and to share with other people. So if I want to be sexual or Robyn wants to be sexual, we don't need permission from the other person, because in fact, no other person can give us permission to be sensual or be sexual with any other being in the world. And this is where we as lovers or couples normally give our power to the other person. So where we are responsible for our agreement that we have with ourselves, and where we are in alignment with our thoughts, words, and action, where we allowing ourselves to feel what we need and want to feel with other persons, but keeping our agreement of no intercourse, because this is what we as sacred lover wants to honor and respect in the depth of our relating, what we're having. And this is where we really want to go deep with each other, where we want to have really good sex in our life together.
Great.
Yeah. So
and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The way that we're choosing to relate, we talk about this idea of sacred lovers. And for us, the way that we bring the sacredness into our love relationship is in the way that we relate. Our desire is to experience transformation in our lovemaking with each other and with life, the way that we live. And so it's creating these agreements where we want to be able to experience deep relating with one another. And as Matt said, with this agreement that we make with ourselves, that we're choosing not to have intercourse with others so that we can have this depth with one another. But we're still sexual beings, and we want to explore that, and we don't want to shut off that part of us when it comes to relating with others. So we have the freedom to express ourselves sensually, sexually, and play with others, but within this container of no sexual engagement with others.
Okay. So this is very much still talking about the application of will or consent, because there are different ways of applying it. And what Matt is saying is they have an agreement to be responsible of their agreement with their self, which is the ultimate way of loving yourself, really. And for them, they're practicing taking care of their own needs and being able to articulate that, so that there's also less second guessing, and their boundary in their relationship is even when they're relating with other people, that there is no penetration and no sexual intercourse. So that's the way that they decided to navigate their relationship. And for listeners out there, you may want to think about how you may want to be relating with the world and with your lover or lovers using the will of consent. And also, if you're interested in the will of consent, you can actually just Google will of consent by Betty Martin, and her material will definitely come up. So is there anything else that you'd like to share about the importance of the wheel of consent, Matt?
Yes. So the wheel of consent itself, when you see that the first time, it's like a map that you can use, and it is a mental concept. And the important is that it's not only stated or stuck as a mental concept, is we have to find that in our nervous system, in our somatic nervous system, through this specific dynamic of receiving by doing. And the receiving by doing dynamic is the taking dynamic. And for most people who are conditioned in this receiving by doing dynamic, they only see this from the shadow side, where rape and war, where violation and invasion is happening, and they're shutting this part of the nervous system down. But this is the excess in deeper layers of an awakening of this erotic creature within to be capable of going into this self-responsible action for ourselves while accepting and seeing the other person as a gift and having a consensual agreement before we go into this action. And this is where it becomes really powerful. And I have backed that up with something that calls the polyvagal theory from Dr. Stephen Porges. It is a new approach of the functionality of the nervous system that is explaining the so-called social engagement system as the default system of our engagement as humans with one another. And that makes the wheel of consent so powerful, because it is related to this social engagement system where we need to create the safety first with the person we want to engage with. And there's really good stuff about the polyvagal theory and how that fits from the wheel of consent.
So we have a break coming up, and we can continue this after this break with Matt and Robyn from the sacred-lovers.com.
Free your mind with Om Times Radio, IOM FM. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment, a philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi, this is Julie Geigel.
And I'm Susan Schuler.
And I'm Lori Walker.
And we are
the Psychic Angel Channelers
from Angel Talk Tuesday.
Tune in every week at 10 a.m. Eastern on OmTimesRadio.com.
The angels have heard your call and are here to help.
Are you ready to receive?
Bathe in the beautiful vibrational frequency to help you heal, expand, and remember your magnificence with Angel Talk Tuesday.
What's up? This is Brad and Mike from Lincoln Park for Life Beat, the music industry fights AIDS. Listen up, times are tough and you get a lot of things thrown your way. If you're being pressured to have sex and you're not ready, then say no. If you're having sex, be smart and use protection. Respect yourself and protect yourself.
For more information, call the National AIDS Hotline at 1-800-342-AIDS or log on to www.lifebeat.org.
And welcome back to Eros Evolution. This is where sexuality and spirituality meets. We are with Matt and Robyn. And Matt Schwenteck is a trained facilitator in Tantra and sacred sexuality, while Robyn Dalzen is a transformational coach and facilitator, guiding people to live more pleasurably, love more fully, and lead more authentically. And today's episode is about sacred lovers. And so far in today's show, Matt and Robyn have been explaining how the wheel of consent is what it's about and how they're applying it in their relationship. And I understand from you, Robyn, that you would like to share a tool that people can use to connect and feel the taking dynamic. Would you like to elaborate more on that?
Yes. So, as Matt said, the wheel is a concept, but it's only as good as its application. And in order to apply it, you really have to feel the difference of these dynamics in your skin, in your body. And so the simplest way to do that and to understand this dynamic of taking, of being able to receive by reaching out and doing for yourself, it all comes back to waking up sensation in your body and starting by waking up sensation in your hands. So there are more nerve endings in your hands than anywhere else in your body except your mouth and your genitals. But in your hands, you have these fine-tuned neurons that are really sensitive. And so in order to wake them up, there's a really simple tool that you can use. You can pick up any object that you can hold in your hands. It could be an iPhone, and since most of us have a phone in our hands anyway, it's a good place to start. And you just tune into the sensation of this object in your hand. And so by getting really relaxed, sitting back in a chair, and just feeling this object, being really curious about it, feeling the texture of it, feeling the temperature, feeling, is it hard, is it soft, what kind of edges does it have, and just bringing your attention and your awareness to this object for a few minutes. And you start to notice this electromagnetic sensation in your hand. And the more you do this practice, you can do it for 3 minutes a day, the more you start to wake up sensation in the body. And we have this sensation over every inch of our body. And so by starting with the hands, you then can start to wake up this sensation throughout your skin. And when you reach out to touch someone, a friend, a lover, you can really focus on, what does it feel like when I'm touching them? And instead of touching them to get a reaction, you can touch them to feel the pleasure on your fingertips. And this is really where it all starts. And so it sounds overly simple, but it really is the key to unlocking these different dynamics and really feeling the sensation and the pleasure and waking up that pleasure in our skin.
Yeah.
I really love this practice. I love it. Is there a name that you call this?
I call it a touch meditation.
Okay.
Because it really is like meditating, but it's an active practice. But it's really so simple.
Yeah, and an important dynamic in that is when we start to activate our hands with this electromagnetic, tinglish, pleasurable, sensual thing. We can do that on anything, even when we're just sitting in a meeting somewhere and we are not relaxed enough. We could just rub our hands somewhere on a fabric, or feeling this oxytocin-related release in our brain. And what's happening in there is when we start to do that, we create the connection and the safety within ourselves in the first place, because this nerve ending in our fingertips, they're actually corresponding with another nerve ending in our brain, in our reward center. And this goes faster than actually our brain is operating, our rational thinking mind. So our rational thinking mind operates in a quarter of a second, but this information from our fingertips into our reward center in our brain, that goes in a 30th of a second. So it's much faster than our rational thinking brain. And when we're doing that, we're releasing central oxytocin in our brain, and it's blocking on our amygdala, what is the fight-flight center It's blocking the release of cortisol and adrenaline, what brings our nervous system more or less into a fight-flight response. So we can actually biohack our response of fight-flight and our nervous system in a very relaxed, sensual and receptive way. And this is where we can, when we just translate this receiving by doing, this oxytocin-related physical response, and we look into the wheel of consent and we just recognize, oh, this is actually doing and receiving, or receiving by doing. This is the part where we learn to come home into our body when it comes to connection with our beloved or with other people, where we need to make this sensual oxytocin connect, love-related touch in the first place, that the other person can feel safe and we feel safe. But in this case, with this permission first, hey, may I touch you because I need connection now. And that makes it really, really powerful, because this is where everything is starting in relating with another person.
And one of the things that's so important about connecting to this dynamic of taking and being able to feel sensation in our skin. So the more we can connect to the sensation, the more we can feel our own skin or someone else's, we start to feel, we start to learn, what is it that feels good to me? What is it that turns me on? What is it that makes me feel calm and relaxed and juicy? And the more I know my own body, my own turn on, the more I can find that with a partner, and the less I rely on them to know how to turn me on. Because it's really my responsibility and the opportunity to really, as part of this going deep with a partner, the more I know myself and the more I can feel myself, the more I can fill up my own needs, or I can ask my partner to give me exactly what it is I want and need. So he doesn't have to guess what I might need in any given moment. I can really tune in and know and request or reach out and take what I need.
Yeah, and that's really important to activate the receiving part of the nervous system, because, like Robyn just said, is that the more we activate it, the more we deepening this part, the more we can really ask for what we want. And this is where the empowerment for most people is really necessary. So we have been working with so many people over the world over the last years. And one of the biggest other shadows next to rape and assault and violation of somebody else's boundaries is that people sitting in this shadow of entitlement and expectation, where they actually project on the other person, on their partner, that they should know what they need and want without without asking or saying anything, kind of this telepathic agreement, can't you read my desires from my mind? But when we know what this feels in our skin, in our hand, what we want to receive while we do, then we can ask the other person, hey, I need this soft, gentle, silky touch just on my back. Can you just stroke my body just 5 minutes? And what happens is that people coming in connection with blockages and boundaries about shame-related questions related to pleasure. So when we can ask for a pleasure-related request, then we come in connection with this inner blockage where we have learned to shut our pleasure-related impulses, or we have learned to shut them down because we have learned somehow, somewhere, that this is not okay to ask for that, or we learned that this is shameful, or we feel guilty about asking we want related to pleasure. And that wakes all up, and that reactivates deeper layers of ourselves. We actually calling back in areas of our psyche of our soul that we have left on the along, where we just learn to go along with stuff that we didn't like.
Or we learn to filter our desires and not really ask for exactly what we want because we think it's too much or we think we can't get it. And I've really noticed this in myself. The more we play with this and the more I get in touch with what I really want, I have made it an active practice to actually voice exactly what it is I want and recognize that I might not get it, and that's okay. It's also letting go of the expectation that if I want something, then I have to get it. My partner has to give it to me. And so we actually play a game that I'll call the wanting game. And so we really practice actively claiming our desires and our wants, regardless of how ridiculous they are. And so in any given moment, there are times when, I'll be eating a piece of chocolate and Matt will say, I want your chocolate, to really get this reaction from me. And my old default would be, oh, well, if he wants it, I have to give it to him. But I come back to the place of, no, it's good to want, but I'm not giving you my chocolate. And so we see how ridiculous we can be with these requests, and really tune into the desire of what is it that we want, and recognizing it's really good to want. That's a great desire to have, and it doesn't mean you're going to get it.
Yeah, there are people who, we have a break and we can discuss more about this after this. It's very interesting what Robyn is sharing. And they have another website called uniquetantra.com, so check that out as well.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Join me, Tammy Adams, intuitive life coach and spiritual healer, for my new show, Karma Talk. Learn how to get rid of your karma so that you can start living the life you are meant to live. I am not going to tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Join me on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for Karma Talks on Om Time Radio.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
And welcome back to the last 15 minutes of today's show. We are talking about sacred lovers with Matt Schwenteck and Robyn Dalzen. And they can be found at sacred-lovers.com as well as uniquetantra.com. And you can follow Robyn Dalzen at Robyn, that's ROBYNDALZEN.com. And their Facebook is Sacred Lovers. And just before the break, we were talking about this tool that is called touch meditation. By activating, for instance, your hand on objects, you can actually create this electromagnetic field around your hands. You wake up sensation of your hands, which is linked to your brain, which then in turn biohacks your body to become more relaxed and sensuous and receptive. Not only that, oxytocin is being released, and when we get better at feeling into our bodies what feels good, then we also, over time, become much better with asking for what we want. And of course, this takes practice. Then they talked about the wanting game, which is about being clear about what you want versus the need of having to feel that you need to give it to that person who wants something. There is pleasure in wanting to want, and it is pleasurable to have desire in your life. And this is so important because I've heard people, my clients especially, who say things like, oh, what's the point of wanting this if this is not going to happen? I don't think it's right to fantasize about this. I don't think it's right to want something if it's not going to happen. Am I not going to be too disappointed? And I'm going to be crushed, if I don't get that. And I think it's where imagination and creativity starts to die, because we start really checking into ourselves what would make us happy and what will make us feel in a better state of vibration in so doing. So I really like what Matt and Robyn are sharing today about touch meditation and the wanting game, and of course the principles behind the wheel of consent. So I just want to ask this very important question, because I ask my guests this question in every show, and I realize I haven't asked this question, and I want to give you guys time to be able to answer this fully, which is this show is always exploring the link between sexuality and spirituality. In your opinion, I know you teach Tantra. What is the link between sex and spirit for you? This can be in your professional or personal capacity that you can answer this question. So, Matt?
Yeah. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, what I would like to say about this 3-minute meditation that Robyn said is that we have the capacity to translate that in all parts of our bodies, specifically in our genitals, with consent, when we can receive by doing. What happens in our body is that we just start to get sexually aroused, and we're releasing, next to oxytocin, dopamine in our body. So our body aroused, and we're getting turned on, and we're feeling sexually activated. And the interesting thing about this entire spiritual and sexual domination is that we're using sexual energy consciously as a bridge into higher dimensions of spirituality. So how that works is we're just taking literally the reproductive goal of procreation. We take that out of our lovemaking. So we take the goal and the agenda of the goal of the contractive peak orgasm out of our sex. So what we do is we learn to play on the orgasmic edge. We learn to dance, we surf, we kind of dive in an orgasmic field with each other, where the lovemaking becomes a timeless, infinite expansion of our reality. And just like to give a brief understanding, there's something in our pineal gland release that called DMT, dimethyltryptamine, and that is getting released when we die, or when we're getting born, or when we dream, or when we make tantric love in that way without the reproductive contraction. So the oxytocin and dopamine and all the endorphins in our body, melatonin and serotonin, create this spiritual galactic cocktail in our pineal gland, where our consciousness is expanding in oneness consciousness, in unity, in a unified of consciousness, where our bodies and the boundaries of our body merging into oneness, where we're feeling connected to our environment and to our lover and to life, to the earth, as oneness. And there's a specific thing in there when we feel that is happening in a part of a nervous system, what is related to our vagus nerve, what is this part of the nervous system where we literally dive through. So where the last breath is coming from, where our heartbeat impulses is coming from. And this part of the vagus nerve is related to our reptilian brain, this part of our brain stem where our nervous system goes into this altered state of consciousness, of expansion. And the beautiful thing about this entire work and Tantra is that this vagus nerve, and that is very special, is connected in the woman's body to the cervix, to the womb. And we men, we don't have this connection of the vagus nerve into our genitals. It's another part of the nervous system. But the beauty in tantric lovemaking is the connection between the genitals is when the cervix is connected with the man's phallus, this part of the nervous system in the woman's body of the vagus nerve is getting activated and is just allowing the woman to go naturally into her real spiritual divine expansion. This is where her nature really is, and she's becoming her nature, what is multi-orgasmic. And we men, when we can relax without the goal, we learn to dive. We're getting invited in that field, and we expand together in this oneness consciousness. And that makes lovemaking not like a 7.5-minute worldwide average kind of goal-orientated, friction-based ending. It just becomes a meditation in lovemaking where we can just like go wherever, however, whenever we want. So as lovers, we just love to expand and play there as much as can to just like allow this infinity of this spiritual being that we are bring down into our body, into our life, into our relation with each other and with other human beings. And that makes it really, really special and beautiful.
Thank you. I really love this explanation. It's very scientific, and it totally makes sense for those of you who understand the science behind it. And Robyn, what is your opinion of the link between sex and spirit?
Yeah, for me, I was raised very conservative Christian, and from my upbringing, my body was totally disconnected from my spirituality. And what I have come to learn and understand and actually feel in my body is the importance of connecting spirit and body. And for me, the quickest way and most true way to do that is through sexuality. So it's this joining of the earth and the cosmos through the body. And as I have transitioned from this place of having an orgasm to becoming orgasmic, I feel in my body this oneness consciousness, this connection to everything around me. And I can go beyond the confines of my personality and really feel that I am connected to everything around me, connected to my partner, to the earth. And so for me, it's really been about letting go of the goal around sex, letting go of this goal of peak orgasm, and really staying in the pleasure of every sensation, staying in the pleasure in my body. And it's through that connection to my body and my sexuality that I'm able to go to this place with my partner of feeling this deep connection.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing this. We just have about 1 or 2 minutes before the show ends. So could you like to talk about your upcoming events and if you have any offers for listeners?
Yeah, so we will be from the 6th to the 13th of March in Hong Kong, and we're offering a 2-day workshop, Feeling into Deeper Connection, where we're offering this dynamic of the wheel, how to activate this default system in our nervous system, and where we share the secrets and the little tricks as lovers for each and everybody to become multi-orgasmic. and a very safe container where everybody is welcome, individuals, singles, and couples of all genders. And we offer as well in Hong Kong individual one-on-one session or couple sessions. And so after that, we will be in Bali for about, I'm for 1 and Robyn for 2 months, where we're offering as well individual one-on-one sessions for people who really want to dive deep into the core of their soul through sexuality.
Mm-hmm. So we each offer, we do in-person sessions, and we also offer Skype sessions. And we offer a free 15-minute introductory call to help people determine, is there something that they want to look at, and would it be a good fit to work with either one of us to do that. So we're happy to offer that. And the best way to find out where we are in the world, because we're always moving, we don't have a home base, is through our website that you've mentioned several times, the sacred-lovers.com. And we have all of our events listed there, and so people can find out where we're going to be. And we also follow invitations. So if people are interested in bringing us and organizing something, we would be happy to come.
So, yes. So thank you very much, Matt and Robyn, for coming onto today's show. And you can definitely check them out by going to sacred-lovers.com. And next week, we're talking about unusual UTI, urinary tract infections. And we're getting a medical doctor here to talk about it. So stay tuned to Eros Evolution. And also do check out my website for my own events and retreats coming up. So in the meantime, keep enjoying sex and reconnecting to your sexuality and spirituality. And this has been Dr. Martha Tarali of Eros Evolution. And have a great week ahead. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Martha.